From Mountain Home to Raft River, we've got all the District 4 analysis you'll need to know. This is the Magic Valley Prepcast with Scott Burton.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down everything in District 4 week in, week out. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on the real reason everybody came to the show tonight, though, and that is Scott Burton. No, check that. Roy Hobbs in the house tonight.
All right. I have my daughter here on the floor, and she just punched me in the leg, so I think I'm done.
We're going to get flagged for copyright infringement.
Oh, yeah, probably. You know what? If that's the worst, or no, I can't say that's the worst. I can do a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
How we doing, Brandon?
Oh, man, I'm fantastic. We are recording this Prepcast Wednesday night, May 11th. So as we're talking, you know, some games are in progress tonight. Some have gone final. This is kind of like, it's like IdahoSports.com after dark. You're getting the behind the scenes look at, you know, how we do everything, and we get the scores every night. So this will be kind of fun.
Yeah. A couple of finals from some of these brackets, at least in 4As that I have already come in. So
yeah, that's exciting. I might jot those down as you're going through them and add them to our brackets. Okay, so for those that are watching the video of this at IdahoSports.com or the Facebook page or YouTube channel, each week Scott likes to come on as a different fictional movie character, typically from a baseball movie, and you are representing Roy Hobbs from The Natural tonight.
Yes, I am. I had to think about what I wanted to wear tonight. I mean, I've already done Chico's bail bonds. Already did There's No Crying in Baseball. And so this one just seemed like, since we're still in softball, baseball season, this is what's left. I mean, I have a plethora of football jerseys ready to go for the fall. So
awesome.
I may even have a Hoosiers Hickory jersey tucked away for basketball season.
Fantastic. Is it Ollie?
I can't give you all of what I have.
Okay.
I don't have a singlet, though, for wrestling. I'll work on that part. That might be the last show we ever do. But
yeah, the censors might really come out after us.
Either that or we go pay-per-view. I'm not real sure.
Well, that could be more lucrative. I don't know. All right. Well, the last time we were on, Scott, we were kind of previewing all of these district brackets for baseball and softball. And now we've got a week's worth of results to go over. A lot of bids to state have already been snapped up. Some are still being determined. I will say this. The district postseason time has been as wild and unpredictable as we thought going in.
No, it has. It's just been as unpredictable as the weather. And the weather has played a part in a lot of these tournaments. And, you know, it's funny how that works because, you know, I mean, I'm a baseball guy, and, you know, I played in college, and people react differently to weather. And I was a left-handed pitcher, right? And I'll tell you what, I had the hardest time throwing in cold weather, or depending on kind of where the bump and how the battery was set up, where was the wind blowing? I mean, was it blowing against my break-in stuff, or what was going on? And so that plays a part in this, especially in baseball, you know, from a pitcher's perspective. So this spring has been no different. It's been absolutely nuts. I mean, Mother Nature has been throwing temperatures out there like they're lottery numbers. You know, it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's been all over the place, and very frustrating for athletic directors, coaches, and broadcasters that are trying to make plans. Mm-hmm. So let's what I'm going to do, if you're watching the video version of this at IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel or Facebook page, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll put those brackets up on the screen so you can follow along. Maybe make your screen, your video player, full screen size so it's easier to see the brackets. If you're listening audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, you can still follow along. We have all the district softball and baseball brackets on our homepage at IdahoSports.com. But let's start with softball because that's been more unpredictable than baseball. And we'll start with the 4A Great Basin Conference. Here's the bracket. as it stands, let's kind of recap how everything started. It started last Saturday where Twin Falls, the 1 seed, and Wood River, the 2 seed, Mountain Home, the 2 seed, got first round buys. And then you had number 4 Jerome against number 5 Burley, and number 3 Wood River against number 7 Minico. Minico beat Canyon Ridge in the play-in game 7-2. So in that opening round, Jerome barely got past Burley 6-5, and then Wood River defeated Minico 8-4, and that set up these two semifinals that were played immediately after the first game. So for Jerome and Wood River, they were playing games back to back. Wood River falls to Mountain Home, the 2 seed, 11-1. And here is the most shocking result. And this was the talk of the Magic Valley this past week in sports. There's no doubt about it. Not the fact that Jerome upset top seeded Twin Falls, but it's the way they did it in a 15-4 victory, Scott. Very impressive.
Yeah, it was incredibly impressive. And you know, when you follow both of these teams, it was impressive, but you get it. And here's why you get it. You know, the first time that these guys played was over at Twin, and all these games have been played on the same field. So they're not changing venues, anything like that, if that means anything. The first game of a doubleheader in the regular season, which was a little bit later in the year, Twin Falls blasted Jerome 16-2, right? Well, the second half of that doubleheader, Twin Falls throws their ace for part of it. And Jerome hits the ball. And they had a 10-2 lead at one point and ended up losing 12-10. But I remember being kind of on the outside of their huddle after the game, listening to kind of what Coach Huddleston was saying and listening to the reaction of the girls, because, you know, you can tell a lot by the way a team reacts. And the way that they reacted to that was, if they get a chance to go against Twin again, they have some confidence. And it really is difficult to beat a good team 3 times, right? And so there was that going for them. Well, before that happened, they had to get to Burley or get through Burley. And Burley, man, what a fight they put up. That thing was tied in the 6th inning, and Burley dang near tied it up in the 7th. Jerome got 3 runs in the top half of the frame, or at least the bottom half of the 6th, rather. Top of the 7th rolls around. Burley gets 2. And you're like, holy cow, we may be going to extras here. But there just wasn't a lot of offense. And so from that perspective, you thought, you know what? If Jerome can get out of Burley, and they did, and they go up against Twin, there are a lot of hits left on this Jerome team, because hitting the ball has never been an issue for Jerome. In fact, for the Tigers, the last 5 games, they're averaging over 13 runs a game. You know, and that does include that Burley game. And so you knew that they were going to hit the ball. The problem wasn't that. The problem was, could they have the defense to back it up? Because that's really been the Achilles heel. They're averaging about 4 errors a game. And in that doubleheader, Burley Twin, 2 the entire day. That is what made the difference. They were going to hit the ball without a question. But the defense is really what brought it home for the Tigers and pulled the upset. Now they have to go to Mountain Home tomorrow, a team that they've lost to twice, 2 close games, 9-7 and 13-10. And also a team that Jerome beat in the opening round last year in an upset. And so you're thinking, man, this ought to be a good one. Tomorrow for the district title in Mountain Home, first pitch scheduled at 5 o'clock.
And so let's talk about the job isn't done for either Jerome or Mountain Home, right? If you win, you're assured a spot at state. If you lose, you got to go back through that back half of the bracket, and there's no guarantee you're going to get that second bid state. On the back,
and waiting for you is a very angry Twin Falls team.
Possibly, or it could be somebody else too. I think
Wood River may have something to say about that. Wood River and Burley play tomorrow. Winner plays Twin right after in that weird doubleheader thing, and then the winner of that will play the loser of Jerome and Mountain Home. Now, you have to think that Twin would have to be the one getting there. They're the number 1 seed, right? Not that they can't be beaten, because they have. Jerome was a 4 seed and just absolutely creamed them. So who knows? But if Twin does get there, they're going to be a very angry ball club.
I would not want to be the loser of that district championship game. I will say that. There's no guarantee that whoever loses that Jerome Mountain home gets that second bid to state. So it's kind of a precarious spot for sure. And again, championship is tomorrow. Let's move to the 3A ranks, where this one was about as unpredictable as we said, Scott. We talked about all year, these 4 teams, Gooding, Filer, Buell, and Kimberly in softball, all beat up on each other. There was really no consensus as to who the favorite was. And look at this. Last Wednesday, as we got done recording, number 4 Kimberly knocks out number 1 Gooding 5-3 in the opening round. And then it was an upset delight. Number 3 Buell knocks off number 2 Filer 5-3. You had a 4 and a 3 playing in the undefeated semifinal. Gooding and Filer playing in a loser out game on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in earlier podcasts. Just draw numbers for the seeding in this tournament, because 1 through 4 could do it. Kimberly ended up being the 4 seed, and they were the preseason favorite. And a lot of people thought they would actually run away with it. And they didn't. Matter of fact, they finished with a sub-500 record on the season at 10-14, 2-5 in their conference. And Filer was kind of the dominating team in this, Gooding right behind them. Buell is one of those teams that got hot at the right time. And boy, did they. I mean, pulled the upset on Filer, who ended up being the district champion, but they had to do it the hard way. And man, what a great tournament this turned out to be.
Yeah, so you get to that undefeated semifinal game Friday night. Number 4 Kimberly, number 3 Buell. Buell wins that game 3-1. And on the other side, Friday night in a loser out game, number 2 Filer knocks out number 1 Gooding 11-1. That's so heartbreaking for that Gooding team. We talked about them, did a podcast about that Gooding team earlier this season. A fun, spirited bunch. They like to talk in British accents out on the field. And they're the number 1 seed, and they go 2-out. It's just heartbreaking for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really tough to get that number 1 target on your back in a conference that really doesn't have a clear-cut number 1. You know, it just adds a little bit of fuel to fires, gets people fired up a little bit more. You know, and you have to think that Kimberly, out of that first game against Gooding, was like, you know what, we have so underperformed. All we have to do is perform for a couple of games, and the whole regular season is lost. And so they started well with the win over Gooding, and then Gooding just never got it together again. I don't know if they were reeling after that loss to Kimberly, but they got blasted by Filer, 11-1.
And that set up then another loser out game between Filer and Kimberly. And Filer, I feel like they've got a veteran coach in Buck Taylor, and they kind of righted the ship, right? They knocked out Kimberly 11-6, and that set up this district championship game, Filer against Buell. And Filer won that first game 10-1, and that set up, we don't have it on our bracket here, but that set up the second, if necessary, game tonight for the district title. And this was a big one because the winner gets an automatic spot to state, and the loser has to fight via a play-in game against Payette. So,
yeah, you know, and you look at this Buell-Filer matchup. I mean, they played 5 times, you know, this year, Filer winning 3 of them, but the 2 that they lost to Buell, Filer had absolutely no run output at all. No run support whatsoever, losing 7-5, losing 5-3.
Yeah, that might be Coach Taylor calling you right now, asking for some advice.
Yeah, right? So I don't know what I can do for you, bud, but just score more runs. How's that?
Right. I mean, either way, I like 2 teams from District 4 to get to state. One via the play-in game, one via the district championship. So Filer and Buell still fighting there. Let's move to the Canyon Conference, the in softball, the 2-team affair between Declo and Wendell. There wasn't much drama here, Scott. We kind of thought going in. Declo, I mean, they beat Wendell 4 times in the regular season. They win both games 14-4 and 15-5. The real drama is, can Declo now win this state play-in game? Just because they won the conference in the district doesn't mean they get to go to state. They have to win a play-in game against Bear Lake, who actually went into their district as the number 3 seed, and they knocked off number 2 seed West Side to get to this play-in game. So,
yeah, there's the kind of the penalty of having a 2-team conference. You know, and then also a conference really that you never got challenged in. So what do you know? I mean, Declo winning those games with Wendell, I think 17-7 overall. I mean, really not close. One of them a 24-18 pitchers duel, but double run outputs for Declo in every single game, 24, 14, 15, 17, 14. They can put the runs on the board, and they did against Wendell, but Wendell's 5-11, so if you're going to hang your hat on, hey, we're that good because we beat the snot out of Wendell, then Bear Lake may shock you if you're not ready to step up the game a little bit.
Bear Lake's a team that's got the pedigree, right? They've got the history of being a good softball program, but they're young. And I do kind of lean Declo in this playing game. That'll be Saturday at OK Ward Park in Pocatello, 1 p.m. first pitch. And good luck to the Hornets as they try to get to state the hard way. Let's move over to baseball. And let's start at 2A and work our way up since we're in the Canyon Conference and talking about two-team affairs here. This is Wendell and Declo again, but this time in baseball. And, good on Declo for making it a series. We thought, Wendell won the regular season title. Wendell will probably sweep it 2-0. Wendell won the first game 5-3. Declo comes back and wins the second game 11-9, which set up the third and final game last night. But Wendell kind of said, all right, like the lion that plays with its dinner, I've had enough. And they win 18-4.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of flip the script a little bit with the softball into the baseball part of things. Wendell with an impressive regular season, 14-3 on the season. But you know what I like about this is that Wendell kind of got punched in the mouth by Declo, 11-9, and then had to play in a loser out for your season game. And that was not supposed to happen, but I think that could come back to help Wendell. Coach Hurd we talked about him a little bit. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing, but we also understand that sometimes when you just get punched in the face a little bit when you're not supposed to, it wakes you up. And now you know what it feels like to play for your season, right? And so now you're going to do it again, but the feeling isn't going to be as strange. So I think that might help Wendell in the long run.
Definitely. And now Wendell advances to a state play-in game as well, like their softball counterparts from Declo. Any guesses on the opponent, Scott?
Could it be Bear Lake?
It is Bear Lake. Ding, ding, ding. So a Bear Lake double dip on Saturday for teams from the Magic Valley. That will be Saturday at Hallowell Park in Pocatello, which is a great venue for a baseball game. Again, I like Wendell. Bear Lake's a team that's scuffled a little bit, and they're kind of a younger team. And so I do like Wendell in that matchup as well. So we'll see.
I do too. Go Trojans.
Go Trojans. Be fun to see them at state. Declo's kind of had a run on this conference the last couple of years, so it's nice to see Wendell breaking through with some success.
Yep.
All right, here is 3A, District 4, the SCIC. And this one kind of went according to chalk.
Yep.
Number 1, Kimberly beats number 4, Gooding, 15-2. Number 2, Filer beats number 3, Buell, 5-2. Number 1, Kimberly over number 2, Filer in a tight championship game, 2-0. But Kimberly gets to state, and they are going to be one of the favorites, I think, along with Marsh Valley. Those are kind of the two big, and we talked about Kimberly and Marsh Valley played twice at the end of the regular season. Marsh Valley won both games 3-2, and those are kind of the co-favorites, I think, going into the state 3A.
Oh, no question about it. Marsh Valley, the number 1 team in 3A. Kimberly, the number 2 team in 3A, played each other twice late in the season. Kimberly with that fantastic 20-3 record, 2 of those losses to Marsh Valley, and people that are looking at the 3A bracket and our broadcasters are going to be calling it, this one is on a crash course for Kimberly versus Marsh Valley. And with those 2 close games, and I always look at it from a weird coaching perspective. It's like, okay, you can look at it one of 2 ways. Marsh Valley, Kimberly can't beat us. We've already beaten them twice. And now maybe Kimberly's thinking, geez, we can't beat Marsh Valley, whatever. Or they're saying, you know what, we can beat that team. We got a little chip on our shoulder now. So it's funny how teams respond to losses. And like we just got done talking about with Wendell losing one they shouldn't have, Kimberly may have a little bit of extra motivation if they were to meet in the state title game, because they know they can beat this team. And, according to their coaching staff, they said that they learned a lot about themselves playing Marsh Valley, and didn't play like they wanted to, but only lost 3-2 both times. So it's going to be interesting. I look forward to this matchup if it does transpire.
Yeah, I'm going to be broadcasting the 3A state tournament, so I'm very excited to watch this all unfold. Now, I will say, you peek too far down the road, 3A baseball is going to bite you in the butt. Marsh Valley last year at state thought, well, we're going to get to the championship. Weezer knocked him out with a walk-off home run in the first game of the tournament, and Weezer went on to win the whole thing. So you never know.
No, that's very true. So how is Marsh Valley going to respond to that? I mean, obviously they lost some players to graduation, but the coaching staff is like, we cannot take anything for granted.
Definitely not. And on the backside of the bracket, you had Buell knock out Gooding 9-1, and then Filer beat Buell 14-4. So Filer now has a chance to play their way into state. They will play. So it's kind of weird. Snake River and South Fremont will play each other tomorrow in a state play-in game, but that only gets them to another state play-in game. It's like 1 1/4 bids from their conference. If it's Snake River, I like Filer. If it's South Fremont, I think I like the Cougars. They've got a really good pitcher who was also their quarterback, Cayman Peebles, and of course, Coach Chad Hill. He's been coaching a long time at South Fremont. He's a good baseball coach. So Filer, we'll wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, more baseball and softball action at Hallowell Park. That is going to be a busy place this weekend. Yeah,
Pocatello is going to be a busy spot for sure. All right, and let's wrap up, Scott, with the Great Basin Conference Class 4A. Burley beat Mountain Home in the play-in game Mountain Home beat Burley in the play-in game 6-1. And then had to play Minico in the opening round on Saturday and kind of pushed the Spartans a little bit. 11-8. Minico did hang on to win. In the other opening round game, you had number 4 Jerome over number 5 Canyon Ridge, and Jerome won that one in a tight one, 6-4. And then you get to the semifinals, just like in softball. You win that first game. Well, waiting for you. It's like the next level in a video game. You thought you beat it, but here's another bad guy coming through the door. And this time it's number 1 seed Twin Falls. They beat Jerome 9-2. And here was the big shocker in the other semifinal, number 3 Minico over number 2 Wood River. We talked about this Wood River baseball team and what, kind of a nice season they were having. And again, the fact that Minico beat Wood River isn't the surprising part. It's how they did it. They won 18-3 over the Wolverines.
Yeah, and this was at Wood River, on Wood River's home field. So just to absolutely get blasted on your own field was not good for Wood River, and they obviously are going to tomorrow to wait the winner of Jerome and Canyon Ridge, because Canyon Ridge beat Mountain Home tonight 8-5. Grab your pen.
Yeah, let me jot that down.
And so that means Canyon Ridge and Jerome will meet for the 4th time this year. And it's been Jerome 3-0, but man, it's got to make you nervous if you're the Tigers, just because it's like, man, we got to beat Canyon Ridge again, and so here we go. But it's going to be that interesting Twin Falls Minico matchup, 1 versus 3. And when you think about Great Basin baseball, I mean, it's always Twin Falls and Minico at the top of the conversation. They're usually 1 and 2, the whole 9 yards. And, you look at both of these teams, and neither one of them are impervious to, getting beaten any day of the week, because they're not coming in with these incredible dominating records, even though Twin Falls is ranked in the latest poll, but with a record of 15-10, so they're kind of right in the middle. But I think it's, a whole different discussion, but I think it's such a big difference between where Twin is and where some of those top 2 teams are, whether it's a Middleton or it's BK, whether it's whatever. But Twin Falls and Minico played twice. Twin won them both, 5-4 and then 8-4. So they have been battles, and I don't see this one being any different.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. That championship will be tomorrow. Winner will advance to state. Loser's going to have to fight it out between Jerome, Canyon Ridge, and Wood River. I don't think Wood River's quite done yet. I think they'll bounce back after really getting blown back in that semifinal game. So, yeah, a lot to be determined still in the Great Basin Conference. That is for sure.
Yeah, there is. And just like we talked about in the softball, the loser of that game is going to get a very angry Wood River team that feels that, they've got a lot more to prove than that 18-3 shellacking that they put up this minute ago.
It's crazy how in softball and baseball in this conference, the team that had a bye, had all the advantages, just got waxed. Doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it's really interesting to see how teams respond. And I know I've said this a million times in a million different podcasts already, but the psychology of sport is absolutely fascinating to me, just because some teams take defeat and they turn it into anger and vigor, and they just punish you the next time they see you. Others just stick the tail between their legs and tootle off to the corner, and you never see them again.
Yeah.
So that's why the psychology of sport is fascinating to me.
Especially high school, where teenagers from day to day, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. So
that's the truth.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay. Before we get out of here, let's do a little track talk. This was a big story last week. Burley and fans of this Prepcast and certainly fans of athletics in the Magic Valley will recognize these names, but the Searle sisters, they play for Burley. They were part of that state championship basketball team earlier this winter, and they're both outstanding track and field athletes, and they both signed with the Division I program, Weber State University, which is, by the way, not just a Division I program in the Big Sky Conference, but generally speaking, they're one of the best, 2 or 3 programs year in, year out in the Big Sky as well. So they're going to a good college program.
Yeah, this was a really interesting story as to how this came about, because, I think the Searle sisters are 3-sport athletes, very successful in whatever they do. They're great students, and they both have 4.0s, and they have completed the CNA program through their local tech center, completed the EMT program. I mean, these guys are scholars too. I mean, and really what they want to do is they want to go on into nursing. And so it really kind of got to a point where they didn't think they were ever going to get a chance. I mean, they were getting recruited. I think ISU was coming at it pretty hard. But they just weren't interested, and they wanted that perfect fit to where they weren't soliciting for colleges either. Let's just be frank on that. It was just like, hey, we're focused in on academics mostly. Let's go that route. And then they just kind of wrote off the whole possibility of maybe playing at the next level. And then spring break rolls around, and they get a little bit of interest from Weber State. And so it was just kind of one of those things that fell into place. And it was a week before spring break. And, they happened to go down and visit, and they have a great nursing program. They got to meet the coach. They got to meet some players. And by the time they left, they had an offer on the table. It took them about a week to decide that, man, this happened for a reason. And so they're headed off to Weber State to get what they wanted. And the number one thing for these guys, these girls, is their academics. They want to put a career ahead of them that they are going to be successful in, because they have already done so much schoolwork and so many credits towards this, that if they were going to play college sports, it needed to be a fit in that. And so many times you see these athletes flip it around, I'll take the sport and then I'll make the academics work. These guys are the complete opposite. They were like, we're making the academics, the sport better work for us. And that's what happened with Weber State.
Yeah, it's a really cool deal that they were able to use their athletic abilities as a facilitator to continue their college careers. It's Lynzey and Sydney Searle. And like I said, they've been key components, like you said, key components of a lot of athletic success at Burley over their high school careers as well. So,
yeah, and they were both vital cogs in the girls' state championship basketball team that they had this year. But an interesting thing about the whole Searle family when it comes to sports and basketball and whatever is that the twins are the youngest of 9 kids, right? Okay, so they've got 6 older brothers who all, play basketball. And so what happened during this basketball season with the Searles was that, the Searles' parents and Coach Whiting, they all got together and said, you know what, let's get, and they called them the Searle Brethren, down to scrimmages all the time. And so they could always go against bigger, faster, stronger, and get them more prepared, a little bit more physical into these teams that they're going to play. But one thing that really I found interesting was that these Searle brethren would get the game film from the opponent that Burley was going to play. And then the brethren would go learn their plays. And so they would show up and they would just be the other team. They would take on the identity of these players. And they started doing that in the district tournament, and it worked. And so these boys would be in the stands, almost coaching from the stands, telling them, hey, switch the screen. Here she comes. Stay home, whatever, because they knew every single play that they were going to run. And then they go to state, and they did the same thing when they played Middleton. It was like they knew what they were going to run because the boys learned their plays. And they went out and they just played with the girls and made them tougher and played against bigger, faster, stronger. But they knew what they were going to do, Burley did. And so they felt that was such a huge component as to why Burley had so much success in that state tournament, is because of this. The Searle Brethren, they called themselves, or the Cinco Searles, whatever they had. And so that was a really interesting, fun little fact about the Searle family. That's
awesome. The Searle Brethren, that it sounds like it's so noble.
Yeah, it is. But and the thing is, I mean, gosh, when I was learning about their stories and everything else, and learning that they were the youngest and twins and whatnot, I mean, anytime you've got brothers and sisters and a gaggle of them, let alone you've got a twin. I mean, can you imagine the competition that was going on in this family that just kind of pushed everybody? But the interesting thing about that one too is because when the girls got into track, they had always been competitive with each other, right? I mean, you have a twin. So who played the most minutes, who scored the most points, blah, blah, blah. And so when they got into track, and we'll kind of bring this back full circle because this is where it started, was in track, this conversation, is that when they came to track, their parents told them that, hey, they are not allowed to do the same event because they want them not to compete against each other, but to find their own niche, And so they both tried hurdles, right? And so it came very natural to Lynzey. She just gravitated toward hurdles, and she became a hurdler. And, she runs the 300, the 100. She has a 14.9 PR in the 100 and a 45.75 in the 300. I mean, so she is doing very, very well. And, but Sid tried the jumping, and she became a natural at that. Plus she's got a little bit of an asthma thing. So she's got a little different set of circumstances, but she became a natural at the jumping, and so they have each found a niche in the track world that they don't have to compare with each other, and I thought that was really super interesting because, when they got recruited, they could both do multiple things, but they were not going head to head with each other. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes. Sydney's pretty good in the jumps. Lynzey kind of sticks to the track, and it works. It works. What a cool story, and what a neat deal for those athletes. Again, just adding to the list of Division I athletes from the Magic Valley. It's been nothing short of incredible this year.
Oh, it's been so much fun to cover these kids, and like I said, and I sound like a broken record at the end of all these podcasts, but learning their stories is so cool because people get recruited all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean they're D1 athletes here, but every kid's got a story, and every kid's got a journey and a set of circumstances and a reason why they're doing this, and a family behind them and a support system or whatever. And to find out what those are and what those pieces are really kind of give a personality to these athletes, and they become more than a number and a box score, which is my favorite part, is learning stuff behind what you're going to read or see in the paper or hear on the news.
Definitely. Real quick, one more track note. This wasn't in the rundown, Scott, but we talked about earlier this year, the Bear brothers from Kimberly, Jackson and Gatlin Bear, and the football offers continue to pile up for Gatlin. They've got a younger sister, Carly Bear. She's a 7th grader, and she has been nationally ranked in middle school times in some of the events she's ran this year. It's been incredible. She's only a 7th grader. She's coming up the pipeline. It's nuts.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be doing another feature sometime in the near future on another bear.
Yeah, it just doesn't stop. So here's how the schedule is going to look for the next couple of Prepcasts here on the Magic Valley Prepcast. Next week, we're going to do our state baseball preview, our live preview special. That'll be next Tuesday night. We'll bring on all the broadcasters for IdahoSports.com. Once again, we're proud to bring you every state baseball tournament, 5A all the way down to 1A. We'll do our live preview show next Tuesday night, starting at 7 o'clock on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel and Facebook page. And that'll be the podcast for the week as well, because then we've got to get ready for state baseball. And then we will come back in 2 weeks, Scott, and we'll do a huge breakdown of everything that happened at state track, tennis, baseball, softball, and we'll hit it all to kind of wrap up the school year.
Yep, and you are calling the 3A boys baseball tournament. I'm calling the 4A boys baseball tournament. So the things that we talk about here in the Magic Valley Prepcast, we're going to talk about again coming up, because you're going to see these, 3A teams and these Kimberly Filers and whatnot, and I'm going to see the Minico Twin, Wood River, Jerome, Burley, whoever's there, Mountain Home, doesn't matter. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt. All right. Well, Scott, as always, thanks for all the time and work you put into this, and big thanks to everybody out there who tunes in each week as well. It's pretty consistently one of our most popular Prepcasts, and we want to keep it that way. So
absolutely. Smokey, thanks you.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, we'll get on out of here. We'll see you for the live preview show next Tuesday night. Until then, thanks for listening to the Magic Valley Prepcast on Idaho.